Those of you who don't know me, I've been professionally involved in the design creative industry for almost 20 years. Moreover, I had the opportunity to work and collaborate with over 1,500 clients globally, from small startups to medium and even large and complex organizations. I'm fully devoted and sharing the best of my knowledge and experience, mainly in visual design, custom web design and development, art direction, design consultancy, and visual identity. I am the founder right now and CEO of Le Silk Studio. It's a visual design and art direction design studio with over 20 years of experience. Our core expertise is branding, visual identity, campaign visuals, art direction and design consultancy, and of course custom websites. This is something that I've been really known for, the custom websites. So me and my team's work, we've been awarded with a couple of times by sites like awards. We've been featured in some publications. We had worked with huge names like Disney China, Kawaii, the World Bank, and many others. And like I said, it's around 1,500 clients in my career for 20 years as a designer. So really a lot of clients. And yeah, the reason why I'm here today is that I decided to share with you some of my personal experience from the design world and the creative industry, from where I hope you will gain some insights. So for many years I didn't accept any public appearances as a designer and art director, since I wanted people to know me for my art, which is mainly my music. However, after 20 years of doing this, working professionally in this field, in this recent couple of years I finally accepted this to talk on a conference, and I accepted my persona, that I'm both a designer, art director, and a musician at the same time. So I'm actively working in both worlds, unconditionally and with the best I can. So the only difference between the two is that, as you can guess, it's money. So money is something that, as you know, especially on the Balkan, it's almost impossible to survive by doing music only. So like most people in their 20s, I was drifting through uncertainty, and design became my professional deformation, almost by accident. And it all started from hardcore punk. So a bit of history. I had my first contact with graphic design when I was elementary school in the 90s. My father took me to an atelier studio where there was this artist that worked as a designer in the day, but he was an artist in the night. And 30 years later, it seems I'm in the same boat. So I'm working as a designer in the day, I'm a musician in the evening and night. 30 years later, this guy that I'm mentioning, that I first came and saw what graphic design is when I was in elementary school, he's in Montmartre in Paris doing art only. So I hope to have a similar future, maybe one day, we'll see. Yeah, this is me. Today's topic is practically designing for value, fueling art, spreading impact, a punk ethos in business. And I'll come back to this topic a bit later. I want to tell you a bit of my history. I'll try to be as short as possible. So being so young, I was amazed by what you can do on a computer, and at the time this software that I was introduced to at the designer studio was called Corel Photopaint, Corel Draw. And fast forward some years later, in the early 2000s, I have a home shared computer, and I have this cool software at home. Pirated music was a thing back then, so my graphic design practice was launched actually when I started doing this bootleg versions of music records. So practically music was downloaded from the internet, and if you were lucky you could also find the front cover of an album back then, but the back cover was almost impossible to find, so I had to design these things. The only way to have it was to have a pirated CD and design the back cover. So this is how I started doing covers of existing albums in the mid 2000s. And the point is that my first love for design was album artwork. A music album for me was not only the music, it was always the whole visual storytelling and everything around it. I remember when I was buying CDs legally, I listened to albums in stores, but I've also been drawn a lot by records who had both the whole story, like the visuals and the audio, like everything flawlessly synced. Yeah, and since I've been doing music at the same time, I started doing these posters, flyers, and artwork for my band, my friends' bands, their friends' bands, and so on and so on. And I got involved in the whole thing. So starting from hardcore punk posters and flyers in only a couple of years, by the end of the 2000s, I quickly came to a point where actually the whole city was filled with my posters, city lights, billboards, and many other designs, all related to music. So basically, I started designing for huge names in pop culture and mainstream culture, like, I don't know, like from regional names like Goran Bregovic to DJs like Paul Van Dyke, Carl Cox, Ferry Corsten, I don't know. Even global known artists like Gorillaz, Manu Chao. Basically, it was all, there were all like events or festivals in the city or in the country. So at the end of the 2000s, this was my main like thing that I was doing. And later I started like moving a little bit aside from designing for music industry, because I wanted to, you know, take music as one thing and take this as something else, as work. So it became quickly like two different things. So yeah, part of this experience, and mainly one of the reasons for the boost in my career, was actually Password Production, because I was working at that time, in what was called Lithium Records. Now it's Password Production. So it was 2009 to 2011, and this is the only place that I have worked for in my life, and it was a place where I became truly resilient. So they taught me a lot. I mean, it was really tough. We worked day and night. I mean, people from Password know how it is right now. It's still the same. For 8 months a year, but you get this experience, like taught you the core principles of how you work under pressure. And for me as a designer, I was working a lot of different things, like I started like doing design, but I was also doing video stuff, like video editing. I also was working on web design and development, and I suddenly, learned to do all of them, like in these 2 years. I was doing it previously, but I got really resilient here on doing this, because for 8 months a year we were constantly working. And yeah, this ethic that I learned in Password for me was really important, because the good stuff that I learned, and this is probably the next slide, is I learned the core principles, which I later used in my studio and in the agency I was like until last year. I will tell you later about that. So basically I learned all about endurance and resilience, self-discipline, and most importantly, to always plan ahead and never leave anything. I mean anything for tomorrow, because tomorrow will come the next thing, and so on and so on. And in my head, it was always better to finish what I have for that day, because I wanted to leave space to do some art, which is in my case the music. So anyways, I'm thankful to Password for this experience. Like I said, the skills that are quite useful for me today I'm still doing that. So shortly afterwards, in 2011, after 2 years, I had done my maximum, and it was the time to leave. So the next 2 years are my freelance career, and it was actually the best time in my life, because I started earning my salary in only a couple of days, and I had a lot of free time to do art and music, so it was really the best of time for me, 2011 to 2013. And in 2013, we decided to completely fuck up our lives. So together with my fellow then partners, friends that I collaborated with back then, we opened a company. So yeah, we completely went, you know, I said we're gonna trap ourselves, and he was like, no, we're not, but actually this is what happened later. So I'm talking about what was later called Fabrica. This was the design brand agency that I was mostly known for in the past years, from 2013 to 2023. So I was for 10 years working under the brand Fabrica with my team. The experience I had was like being on a constant roller coaster. I learned that having an agency with a team of 20 people is like a kid that never grows. So it was really crazy, especially in the past couple of years. We never had to do any marketing. The work was constantly coming in, but it took us lots and lots of energy to deal with the team, with the administration stuff, like many ongoing projects. And at the end of the day, in the latest couple of years, it was going in a direction where I didn't want it to go. Because my vision was always to have a smaller team, like a more focused project, like a smaller everything, you know, work on much better projects, like more focused ones, and this was not going in the direction where I wanted. So yeah, this was one of the main reasons I decided to leave last year in December. And now I started, after 20 years, I started a brand new, like another brand, which is called Les Silk Studio. And it's just going back to the core work of what I do. So the 3 services that I mentioned. Having a smaller team and more focused. The bigger picture here, you know, I left the agency because I wanted to do other things, because, as I said, it's like a baby that never grows. And you know, it's always like there's work, there's not enough people, and then there's people, there's not enough work sometimes, and you have to juggle between, and it's never enough, you know. So in my eyes, it's always better to have a smaller studio, more focused. So this will also enable me to have different projects. For example, the brand behind Les Silk Studio is now Tasei, that's my nickname, and I'm working on 5 or actually 6 different brands, which I plan to do like in the next 5 years. The idea is that all of them have different target audiences, and all of them have different purpose. So it's an ambitious plan, but I will be working, because I will not be spending any time on juggling between projects and so on and administrating stuff. So I think I'm in the right direction. Yeah, so once again, the studio is now focused on only 3 things: custom web design, art direction, and visual identity. I want to tell you a little bit about our manifesto and what I learned. What's the difference between having the agency and owning a small studio? Here is our 6 or 7 points manifesto. So as a team of 5 people, we always prioritize excellence over volume and typically undertake a smaller amount of projects per year. We focus on crafting completely custom solutions with meticulous attention to details. Our approach is very systematic, while we tend not to limit our creativity. Pursuit of knowledge and perpetual curiosity underscore our ethos. So you should never stop learning and being curious, as Steve Jobs said. Central to our principles is accessibility. So we have genuine concern for our clients, and this underscores our approach. So discipline and being more on a consultant, always caring level for your clients is really important. Always treat them as your partners. I mean, this is something that I learned in time. And finally, mutual trust and vice versa, long-term advantage is the core of our existence as a brand. So like I said, treating them as your partners, thinking in long terms for your client is really crucial. As previously mentioned, we worked with companies from all over the globe, like with Fabrica, and my experience, a total of 1,500 clients, and this is, I don't know if it's a slogan, it's something like a manifesto, like we have put our utmost dedication and care into everything we have accomplished over the last 20 years of our experience. Less Silk is a promise, our dedication to great design, a manifest for meticulously written code. So if you want to see some of our works right now, you can do so by visiting the site. And there's still nothing much on Instagram and LinkedIn because it's still new. And now finally to the conclusions and what I learned. I think that this will be helpful and to some fellow designers here, some people in the industry. These are some of the top things I learned, so I hope you'll get some insight. First of all, as a designer, you need to always have the best possible and strong brand, because you sell brands, of course, and your brand is the most important. And always have a website. This is something that I always say, like from day one, I always had a website. I had a website for my band. I have a website for all of my brands. People say in 2024 it's not important to have a website, but actually it's really important because it summarizes your services, summarizes everything that you want to tell the people, and you tell them in your way. So I think like website is crucial and you should have it from day one. And like I see some musicians here, for example, like putting your really important information for putting yourself in the shoes for the audience that you want to have on your website. Like if it's a promoter or a fan, you need to get in their shoes and place on your website what they would like to read. So this is number one. Secondly, do some good work and you will never have to do any marketing. I think this also applies to different creative industries or different aspects. If you're an artist or whatever, if you do your best work, I believe that you don't have to do any marketing, because we didn't do any marketing with Fabrica previously. It was all word to mouth. It's a cliche, but in my experience, it really worked. Like I once made an analogy, like I had a 9th client from person to person to person to person. I mean, from company to company. It was like the 9th client, and this is really something amazing. I like to say, in other words, this when people try to do sales for themselves, like don't do sales, like be the pretty girl in the club that catches everyone's eye and attention, and just forget doing sales. Just be the best you can be. Third is modesty and honesty, of course. Stay true to your manifesto. Write down what you want to achieve, what's your goal. Having a vision is really important. And in Fabrica, we had different vision with the other partners. So it's completely fine to have a different vision in time. But having a vision is write down what you want to achieve. It's crucial also. And stick to that vision. If you change it by the time, that's fine also. Another thing, it's okay to say no. In time, I learned that you don't have to accept anything. You have, even if you don't have a lot of work, sometimes don't be stressed, like maybe there will be a month or two if you don't have enough work, but staying true to your core principles is, I think, really important. And, if you're good enough in what you do, work will come anyways. Next thing I want to mention is that there are designer levels. I learned this in time, that there's junior, medium, senior, art director, creative director, and then there's the design consultant. You should aim as a designer or a creative person to become the design consultant, because this is the last one in the levels. As I mentioned previously, like treating your clients as their partners, as their think with them long term. This is also crucial. The next thing that I wrote is like it's up to the person. I think that like hello, it's up to the person. It's all about capability and understanding what you can and cannot do. So I think that if you are talented in one thing, you might be talented in another thing, and this means, you know, software is just a tool. So if you're good, I don't know, like in UI UX, maybe, and you want to learn like motion design or whatever, then maybe like you have the skill, but you just need to learn different software, and this is fine because software is just a tool. So if you're good enough in one, you'll surely be good enough in another software. And it's all about discipline and resilience. Another one, be authentic. Don't just try to follow trends. Don't be afraid to open Photoshop or whatever and do something random. Of course, as long as you're respecting the top principles of design today. But you know, in any case today, almost everything is a design. So I think even breaking some rules could get you is also somewhere. Finally, the last one, targeting the right audience is everything. Do you want a different audience for your different products or brands? I think the best way is to create different brands and not just go, I mean, in my experience, like an agency previously, like offering 10 services, in my eyes, it's better if you offer like 2 to 3 or even 1 service and be an expert in that. I think this will get you much further. So yeah, these are the top things I learned. And finally, I'm coming to the conclusion of this panel, which is designing for value, fueling art, spreading impact, a punk ethos in business. What does it mean? Well, aside from the punk principles that taught me everything of, you know, being a modest, being a humble human and human afterward, if you already saw in the introduction, designing for value, meaning actually like giving value to others, but also making money because it's really important. After all, we're all working for money. So, like I said, giving valuable something to other people, companies, is important. Making money, and at the same time, spending some of those money on your art, I believe is really important. In my case, this is music, and while doing your art, practically spreading a good message or making an impact, and being a voice for those who cannot be heard. So this is my ideal scenario for a punk ethos in business. Like you make money, you give value, you spend some of those money on creating art and having free time as much as possible and sharing your voice outside. I wanted to say another thing, and this is like music can be your professional thing, it's fine. It can be also your hobby. And for me, for years, I struggled to accept that music is just my hobby. I still think that like it's good in a way because maybe whatever you do today, you can get trapped in the, capitalist way of working. So imagine having an album. Imagine signing to a major label and having to produce like 2 albums in a year and you're not there. So maybe hobby sometimes is a good thing. In my experience, I believe in this. Why? Because you work with no pressure. You can get in the flow whenever you want. You can work however you want, and you do it anyways without financial compensation. So I think after all, the hobby is an activity done normally in one's leisure time for pleasure. So if there were no jobs on this planet, I think that people were just going to do art. So if people love your hobby, your art, then you succeeded and you're a happy person. So this is my Ethos, punk ethos. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Yes? Mm. Yeah. 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 I think like many people start with doing posters and flyers for their bands and friends. Yeah. 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 Mm. Mhm. Mm. Yeah. 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 Yeah, administration, managing people, like all of the non-creative stuff. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Mm. Well, having a small studio is completely different. First of all, like I said, my vision was to have a smaller, more focused. So, in the first year, I was like, first of all, I was working on the new brand for 9 months, like the website, the branding, everything, like for 9 months in parallel while working on the clan word. So I didn't stop. Um, Many of, I mean, I have a lot of connections and a lot of people, and I get constant requests from people. The idea is that having a smaller amount of more, like better projects in terms of not taking everything, like really reaching out to bigger, more serious projects, like let's say a whole package of like branding and website, etc. That will last more months, like bigger projects, like few per year, and a small studio. It's much better than having, because in Fabrica there was a time when I had like believe me, between 40 and 50 projects going at the same time, and you need time to discuss things with your partners. You need to do administration. You need to do offers. I mean, it's complete chaos, and I run away from this because it was just year after year. It's like I said, like a baby that never grows, and it's never ending. You will never have time to do arts like this, and years are passing by. So in my experience, it was 10 years, and I learned a lot. Like I had a lot of experience from it, and I learned that I was still doing music and other things, but it's like I said, it's like a never-ending story. So having a smaller studio. You asked me, like right now we are 5 people only, so 2 senior designers, art directors, 2 senior developers. Right now they are contract based. Basically we have a lot of work. All of them like work constantly with me, so we do payouts like once per month or 2 months. So they're like inside team, but external. And this is something that is really important because I don't need to pay salaries each month, and they don't have the stress to if they are not available, then I can find somebody else because I have a ton of other freelancers or agencies or you name it. So I think I can juggle between these people and agencies much easier than having people inside the company, which is much more stressful in my experience. And old-fashioned, yeah. So I'm also teaching people to, younger designers. I speak with them like, why do you want to work somewhere like 9 to 5? Just be your own brand, like build your own website, collaborate with me or collaborate with somebody else. We can be like, I don't know, it's kind of like probably a new way of working especially after Corona, right? So people are remote. She's a great senior designer, art director. I mean, she can work with me and work with 10 others. We just need to talk like who's available when. And this is how I work now. So right now it's just five people, including me. I had a non-stopping like work for 9 months, but I think next year I will have finally time for these other brands that I'm planning to build and also doing some art. So this year was hard. I knew that I learned that to estimate like super efficiently. Like I knew that this is gonna take 1 year for me, and now I know that the next years will be easier getting out of the shadow of Fabrica. So I think I'm in the best position since I was a freelancer in 2013 for 2 years, 2011, 2013, yeah. So yeah. Yeah, it was not so much. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Um, I don't know the English word for that. It was not Stanzania so much, it was becoming Stanzania at the last 3 or 4 years. Like the first couple of years, I mean, we had also with the partners. I wanted to do this kind of projects like I'm doing now. They wanted to do like many other things. So it was also, this was also the thing, So yeah, I think that if you have an experience like you have also like me, a lot of years going on, you can work in the similar way, I guess, yeah. It's just, I think, building contacts and networking with people and not being afraid to, go. For example, I'm doing this talk today. Like it was the first time I'm doing talk on design, and I screwed up once, like 10 or 12 years ago. I didn't prepare myself like this. I was like, I'm gonna talk in front of people. Like I'm a musician, I can do this. No worries. I came to a scene and I was like 200 people, and I was like, whoa, and I was shocked, and I screwed up completely. So I'm constantly putting myself in situation where I don't want to be, and it's kind of like working for me. So I think, yeah, people should challenge themselves of doing these things. Yeah, push yourself. Yeah. Okay. Any more questions? Yep. Yeah, sure. I mean, let's take one example can we take like branding or? Well, first of all, is really like understanding what the client needs, gaining as much as info as possible. We call it, as you know, the discovery. Are you in the creative industry, by the way? Okay, like yeah, like a project manager. Well, I think the most important phase is like the discovery phase and getting to know and understand what clients really want, because we cannot do stereotypes for people. I worked like with completely different people from all around the globe, like I don't know, like many countries, different countries, and it's stupid to say like this person is like this, or I mean Germans are stiff or like this or this. No, that's not true. Or Italians are a bit harder to communicate with, like chaotic. I mean, this is sometimes true, but not always. It's different approaches, different people. Like some are very professional, some are, like chill and everything. But it's really important in my eyes after 20 years to get to know the client really well and to spend the first parts of the process, like really to know him and understand what they need, write down. Then when the creative process starts, we usually, if it's a branding like visual identity or a website, we either get from him as much as information, like asking him to share with us websites that he likes, why he likes them, what's the style that he likes. If he likes to go more like in the corporate design direction, or he likes more artsy style, getting to understand this is crucial. And if he doesn't have any clue, then we build like these mood boards, as you know, and we show him like 3 to 5 different, based on the data that he shares with us previously. So we give him like options, and he says, I think this, and maybe mix with this one. And we always try to be patient because people are people, and they don't know sometimes what they want, but it's really important to follow them. And yeah, then we go into the process, whatever it is. For websites, let's say we make these sketches. First of all, it's low fidelity wireframes of websites. So we don't go deeper into high fidelity designs, because we always sketch the layouts first with the wireframes. In this way, it's really easy for the client. They don't have any, visual knowledge, but they can, touch and feel, oh, I can see that the hero banner is like this, or I don't know, like these 3 sections are like this. So he can get the glimpse of what he wants to have. So the layout comes first, then on top of that, we add the design based on his branding, or if we build a brand for him. So he gets he does an approval for the design of the website, let's say. And then in the third in the third round, we go for the development. So basically, if you have a good structure, a good process, where it's better to make iterations in the first couple of phases, then it's easier not to iterate in the. I mean, it's total chaos to iterate in the development phase for a website, let's say. So for branding, it's something similar, I guess. It's also like throwing mood boards to them, or they give us references, maybe sketching some rough ideas. In my experience, it's better to not to give like full ideas. Like logo, they want a logo. Don't design logos. Just maybe try to make some sketches or some ideas. Talk with them, like really gain information from them, and they will, step by step accept it and see the process, how it's going. It's sometimes tough, but I think it works. Please tell me if I forgot to answer something. Okay. Okay. Mm. Like I would say, like 90%, we ask for clients to show us what they like. If it's a logo, we say go find logos on Pinterest or on Instagram. If it's a website, just browse. Take your time. We're never pushing our clients, although for the money flow, it's better to push your clients. But for a smaller studio, we try not to make pressure on the clients, make them decide, their direction. So, like I said, mood boards are one thing, but maybe I would say like 80% or 90%, it's we ask them to show us what they like. So, yeah. And you said about the artwork. You said about the artwork for a music album, right? Well, I would also say like maybe I think for music album, like for music artwork, it might be a little bit different. It's not so much client work. It's really how I worked on album artworks in my life, and I made like maybe 50 or even more. I don't know how many. I was always trying to listen to the music, lyrics, and see the points of what the artist want to say. Sometimes discuss with him. If they're not too open for it, then maybe, I don't know, like maybe try to find some hidden meaning in his lyrics, and then try to draft some ideas. And recently I did like 3 album covers this and last year. I was literally using like Mid Journey and what was DALI to explore ideas, you know, because you know, to represent some things and then talk with the with the musician if this thing is really close to what they want to have at the end, you know. So digging deep into the lyrics, I'd say, I think it's really crucial, and trying to visualize his message on an album. And at the end, it's really important for them, of course, to be happy, but to have a whole, like I said previously, to have a whole sync between the music and the visual, to be one story, you know. So yeah. Thank you. Anyone else? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, but I also like what I like to do for music covers. I mean, artworks is I always, I sometimes try to, for example, go into not so classic like designs. For example, for a punk album, I did and this was not actually new wave, like for you know, Danny and My Tear, and they had an album right now, a new album, and I like the cover that we did. It's pretty simple. It's like this punk, straightforward, 2 colors, everything. But I was exploring in a different direction. Firstly, we did this classical art of thing, and it fitted well in my eyes. So sometimes I'm trying to break rules also. You know, I will show you an artwork. Yeah, eclectic things and this is sometimes bringing. I mean, I think it's breaking artists sometimes. For like a good album comes out and it's completely different visuals. It's also, I think, like really yeah. So sometimes this is good. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Anything else?
I just want to say thank you for sharing all your ideas.
Thank you very much.
It sounds like Steve Jobs in our environment.
Thank you very much. That's
All that you fresh, because I know you from your beginning.
yeah, and I remember you also.
So, all that you fresh is amazing, and always when something is, some story is in the end, you have to say, this is the end.
Yeah.
Stop and
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Nelko, and thank you for coming. Okay, if there is no more questions, I can leave the lights.